in a salary cap era, you can't say much. You know, I'm as big as a Tom Brady guy as there is. And what the only difference is the longevity. Tom had like 3 careers. He just so happened to 2 runs at those Super Bowl runs. Patrick's been doing that his whole thing, his whole career. But it'll be interesting for me to see the next chapter of Patrick Mahomes when some sort of adversity comes along. Some player, you know, Travis retired. He's going to be playing way longer after Travis. Chris Jones, when he departures, you know, he's going to be there by himself. Will he be able to retool and find guys to help him go out and win, which that's what Tom had to do, and it took him 10 years to do that to get to the next one.
Oh, some strong words there from Julian Edelman, who, of course, was Tom's favorite targets. They won some championships together. Cam Newton, do you agree? How important is it for Mahomes' legacy that he can prove he can win without Travis Kelce, his binky?
Julesy, yeah, that's a great point. But I will say it this way. Steve Young, did he win without Jerry Rice? Did Joe Montana win without Jerry Rice? I think so oftentimes we see a situation that happens or that we're a part of, and it deems that next has to one-up that. And I don't think that that's this case. If they go out and they three-peat, that's something that has never been done, not even from the great Tom Brady. And that's not a lot of times of us being able to kind of detract from Tom Brady's greatness, but that just goes to show you who and what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do. This is the thing that I think people need to understand about Patrick Mahomes, that a lot of great quarterbacks, along with Tom Brady, has been able to master too. You have to win the game how the game needs to be won.
Meaning? Okay,
you may not have to go out and throw for 300 yards. You may not have to go out and rush for 100. I had some stats that I've written down, right? And, you know, this one hurts a little bit because Peyton Manning had a passer rating of 56 when they beat us in the Super Bowl. He threw for 141 yards and 1 interception, and they still won. Okay, going back to the great Tom Brady. When they played their Super Bowl in Atlanta versus the Rams, Super Bowl 53, Tom Brady was 16 of 27 for 145 yards and 1 touchdown. 10 of those 16 completions was to Julian Edelman, who had 141 yards of receiving. I say all that to say you do not have to be he-man to be the man.
That was a bar. Look, have you been sitting on that one? Go on and do a celebration. Do a victory dance. I like it.
Say less.
Listen, if you can't hype yourself up, no one will. Stephen A., what do you make of those comments and what Cam just said?
Well, I get where Cam is coming from, but I think that when you think about Julian Edelman, the one point that you can't ignore is that very few people on the planet have the right to make the point that he made. He caught passes for Tom Brady. He helped Tom Brady win Super Bowls. He was a most trusted and reliable target for Tom Brady. But he also knows the history and how Tom Brady withstood the test of time. You win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years or so, and then you go the next 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. And then you come back a decade later and you get 3 more for the same organization. Then you depart from that organization after Bill Belichick had decided it was time to move on from you. And you go to an entirely different organization and win a Super Bowl championship in year 1. And who did you beat to do it? You beat that dude everybody's talking about as the GOAT over you. And so Julian Edelman, to me, bringing that up was just a history lesson as it pertains to what entailed Tom Brady as he was achieving 7 rings. In other words, he was saying, don't say 7 rings and leave it at that. Understand the conditions under which he achieved it.
For sure.
Patrick Mahomes hasn't been exposed to that. I'm looking at pass catchers in the postseason, Chiefs' top pass catchers in postseason dating back to 2019 in their run of 5 Super Bowl appearances in 6 years. Travis Kelce has 141 receptions for 1,614 yards and 18 touchdown catches. Next on the list is Tyreek Hill with 64. 64 receptions, 853 yards, 5 touchdowns. So 13 touchdown drop-off That's almost an 80, a drop of almost 80 in reception yards. And, of course, over 700 less receiving yards for Tyreek Hill than it was for Travis Kelce. And everybody else obviously plummets from there. You've had Patrick Mahomes, you've had Travis Kelce all of these years. You've had Andy Reid all of these years. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, Julian Edelman has a point. I mean, I think we look at the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and we see it for what it is because he's phenomenal and he's a winner, and we know that. But when you start saying that he's over Tom Brady, even if he three-peats, the one argument you can make is that Tom Brady never three-peat and Patrick Mahomes will have. Right. But in the process of that, you got to look at the conditions. And Tom Brady had to deal with change, and Patrick Mahomes has not. So Julian Edelman does have a point there, and I think it's something that we can consider down the line. Not right now, but down the line as his career progresses, especially if Travis Kelce ends up retiring after this Super Bowl.
Well, if this was just, though, about, endorsing or indicting quarterbacks based on the weapons around them, then Tom Brady should have absolutely won some Super Bowls with Randy Moss and Wes Welker, and he did not. So it's not just about having great Hall of Fame level talent. Like, you still have to actually play the game. I hate this question. I hate this debate because I understand where Edelman's coming from, and you're right, Stephen A., and that, like, he has a unique perspective and he can say these things. It doesn't hurt that he's Tom Brady's best friend, so maybe this is, like, a little bit biased as well. But you can't detract from what Patrick Mahomes, what Andy Reid have been able to do in that condensed time.
Well,
because
you can.
Yes, they've been able. But here's my point, and why I think that Brett Veach is actually one of the best arbiters of it. I mean, we talk about the legacy for Mahomes or the legacy for Reid or the legacy for Kelce when this is all said and done. But what about Veach and his ability to retool in this free agency period, to be able to retool Super Bowl teams, to make in-season acquisitions that always seem to matter in the Super Bowl, to have these key players that come up clutch, to draft players that ultimately end up being huge for you. We're seeing it right now with Trent McDuffie, with George Karlaftis. All I'm saying is that trying to compare the two, like, yes, Tom Brady had to win that first three with Deion Branch and Troy Brown and Corey Dillon, and then he ended up getting his best receiving weapons of all time and didn't win, and then he gets Gronk and he wins on the other end. But again, no, go ahead, Stephen. What?
I'm saying to you, some person could come and do SportsCenter and do a phenomenal job over the next 2 or 3 years. They ain't getting a nod over L. Duncan in my eyes. Julian Edelman is that dude for Tom Brady. It's very simple.
Well, since you gave me a compliment, I think that's a
Giờ mình sẽ giở bốn bông hoa này ra nha. Một bông, hai bông này.